Jurgen Klopp has been hailed in the media as one of the greatest managers in English football history, having completely transformed Liverpool Football Club and bringing them back to the top of the English game. However, after Liverpool's defeat in Paris, many have started to raise eyebrows over the German and how good of a manager he actually is. Welcome to Halftime Football, where today we'll be looking over the facts and the figures in order to answer the question, is Jurgen Klopp a fraud? First of all, I'll just quickly sum up his career thus far. Klopp was a player in Germany for his entire career, and it was at Mainz where he became a legend, spending 11 years at the club between 1990 and 2001. It was there where he was also offered his first managerial gig soon after his retirement, taking charge at Mainz in February 2001 in the 2 Bundesliga. He spent 7 years there before moving to Borussia Dortmund in 2008, where he stayed until 2015, being quite successful along the way. Since leaving BVB, he's been at Liverpool. At these clubs, Klopp has adapted the tactical approach of gegenpressing, which was invented by Ralf Rangnick. Gegenpressing literally translates to counter-pressing, and it involves quickly pressing to win the ball back high up the pitch, especially straight after losing it. When in possession, he also likes his teams to build from the back, and fullbacks are utilised as the main source of creativity, constantly swinging crosses into the box. This approach has proven to be successful in the past, but it's also where my first criticism comes in. Klopp's teams have proven to be relatively one-dimensional, and when they're sussed out, they really don't know how to adapt to what's in front of them. Sure, they can change their formation, but the whole idea of their build-up seems to fall incredibly flat when their opponent knows how to defend it. Because of this, it can become relatively simple to figure out his tactics, and if the opposition team's players are good enough, they can easily overcome Klopp's teams. A perfect example of this was actually the other day in the Champions League final. Real Madrid sat back and absorbed pressure, countering once they won the ball back, and this was a tactical approach which ultimately won them the final. Spurs did the same thing at Anfield around a month ago and got a result there which ultimately lost Liverpool the Premier League. To me, managers like Ancelotti, Conte and Guardiola are tactically superior because of this. The worst bit of all this is the fact that when Klopp is beaten by these tactics, he immediately slates them, calling them too defensive. If he spent more time adapting and less time complaining, maybe he could actually come up with a plan B for when Liverpool are in trouble. That being said though, no matter how one-dimensional he may be, Jurgen Klopp has won several trophies. In what he calls the greatest achievement of his career, he managed to get Mainz promoted to the Bundesliga against the odds in 2004, which was more or less the pinnacle of what he could do at that club. At Dortmund, he successfully pipped Bayern to the Bundesliga twice, as well as winning a German Cup with the Black and Yellows. Finally, with Liverpool, he's been the most successful of all, winning a Premier League title in 2020 and a Champions League the year before, as well as competing a domestic cup double this season. Oh, and the 2 other European trophies if you really want to count those. However, in all honesty, I think there seriously has to be a conversation about how Klopp has underachieved. Maybe it sounds harsh, but the trophies he's won have not reflected the squads that he's had. Even at Liverpool, he's only won 4 out of a possible 27 trophies. He has won the full set of trophies at Liverpool, and I take absolutely nothing away from that. That's incredibly commendable, but people don't seem to realise how much he's actually spent at the club. Klopp has spent a total of $550 million in his tenure at Liverpool, which averages out to a spend of around $137.5 million per trophy, or around $92 million per trophy if you count the Euro Super Cup and the Club World Cup. By comparison, Pep Guardiola has spent $81 million per trophy at City despite being lambasted for his transfer expenditure, and Carlo Ancelotti won an incredible treble this season despite spending just $30 million. Liverpool also signed at the time the most expensive goalkeeper and defender of all time, and while there have been colossal signings, I think the argument that Klopp doesn't spend is very flawed. Even recently, spending 30 to 40 million on backups like Ibrahima Konate, Diogo Jota, Luis Diaz has become something of habit for Klopp. He also had quite expensive tastes at Dortmund, spending heavily on the likes of Henrik Mkhitaryan and Ciro Immobile. But to be fair to him, he had massive rebuilds to do when he joined both Liverpool and Dortmund. When he took over Dortmund, they'd just finished 13th in the Bundesliga, and by the end, Klopp had brought in the likes of Robert Lewandowski, Mats Hummels and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for very low prices, which was incredibly commendable. He had to spend, and he spent on the right players. The same thing happened at Liverpool, who were mid-table when Klopp arrived, and he's brought in the likes of Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane and Andy Robertson for modest fees. Basically, my whole point here is the fact that Klopp Klopp is not innocent whatsoever when it comes to spending, but to be fair to him, most of his signings have been exceptional, with him and his scouting team identifying problem areas and fixing them excellently. Klopp then takes these players and nurtures them incredibly, creating world-class talents and also creating a great dressing room atmosphere, which is an excellent formula for success. He's rebuilt fallen giants twice now in the form of Dortmund and Liverpool, and you could even throw Mainz in there, and these achievements certainly should not be understated. However, with how much money he spent at Liverpool and with whom he spent that money on, he should certainly be winning a few more trophies. I understand he's competing with teams who spend more money, but the financial gulf is not nearly as big as people like to say it is. Also, a major reason for Klopp's lack of trophies is the way his teams perform in cup finals, with the German having lost 11 out of the 19 finals he's managed. This year's Champions League final was the third one he's lost out of 4 attempts, with the only win coming against Spurs, and prior to 2019 he'd lost 6 cup finals in a row. For someone who manages a team that's been branded as the mentality monsters, something really needs to be questioned about his record when it comes to the big moments. This season in the Champions League, he lost to the only good team he faced, and he didn't win a single game against any other of the top 4 in the Premier League. Klopp is a wonderful manager, but whether he and his teams can compete on the biggest stages is certainly up for debate. His sides are often outplayed due to the predictability of his tactics, which goes back to my previous point about one-dimensionality. Yes, to be fair, Klopp is great at rebuilding sides and allowing them to challenge on all fronts, but I don't consider him the best in the business because many times he can't overcome that final hurdle. This certainly damages his legacy, and who knows what the history books will have to say about him. The problem is though, a lot of people don't really see Klopp as a bottler when it comes to crunch time because the media love to amplify the importance of the trophies he does win. As Jose Mourinho said last year, what is a disaster for him is considered a great success for others. The narrative in the media is one that panders to Klopp and his achievements, which by no means do I discredit, I'm just saying it's blown way out of proportion in comparison to other managers. Carlo Ancelotti just won a treble and his 4th Champions League, yet he doesn't receive nearly as many flowers as Jurgen Klopp does. Also, when he does lose those big games, or any game for that matter, he's really quick to blame anyone but himself. Whether it's the grass or the rain or, like I said earlier, how other teams set up, it's never ending. He's such a sore loser. I'm not going to dwell on it too much because it doesn't really tarnish his coaching legacy, it only really tarnishes his reputation, and also because I made a whole 8-minute video on his excuses back in December. If you want to watch that after this one, I'll link it in the description. Anyway, after countless sleepless nights and forages around the world, I've come to the conclusion that Jurgen Klopp is a fraud, and I'll explain why. He's still a world-class manager, there's not a doubt in anyone's minds about that, but for me, he can't be compared to the likes of Mourinho, Guardiola, Ferguson, Rinus Michels, Cruyff, and many more. He's not a tactical revolutionary, and for me, he implodes too much on the big stage. Winning just 1 out of 5 European finals is quite frankly unacceptable if you want to be considered the best coach in the world, and overall, his trophy record is very shoddy. That being said, he's an exceptional coach with unbeatable rebuilding skills. He's just a tad overrated. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about my verdict and leave your verdict in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.